For this activity, what's in the chest, I have my super full chest of treasures, and I'm gonna show them to you one by one. You ready? So I'm gonna put it to the side. I'm gonna show it to you one by one. We have things from our Pioneer unit, and here's the first thing. So what do you think that is? What could it be? It's got a funny little tail, but it's got something else here. So remember that item. I'm going to put it aside. Next, we have another similar thing, but it's very soft. It's almost like probably made out of bunny fur. So what do you think this is? Next we have this, and it's made out of leather, and it's got hide on it. Looks like deer hide, and some leather work, and the top pops off. So what do you think goes inside there? And what would it be used for? I'm going to show you a simpler version of that. And this one's made out of leather as well, or hide, but it's got a plastic top, but that doesn't matter. And so that'll give you another little hint. And a cord. Next we have this, and it's got a wood stem, and this part would be stone, made out of a heavy stone usually. And then it's got leather along the sides, probably for grip. Our next item is very much part of our Pioneer days. Can you see what that is? What would it be used for, and what materials would they use to make it? And my next item, this is an interesting one because it might be used during battles, but it also might be used by a sea captain, or it might just be used on the farm, who knows? Here's our next item. It's got glass on the top, and it's got a little knob here that turns, and it would have a wick in the center, and it's brass down below, and you would open it up and put in oil so that you could have a, can you guess? My next item is, of course we have some strings and some, maybe it would be made with lace or cotton. Do you know what it is? Let's see what else I've got in here. These are interesting. These might be used in a store, and there's all different sizes here, and they would be put onto a scale. Do you know what those are? This one's the heaviest. That's your hint. And this one says 5, 2, 1, until they get smaller and smaller and smaller. My next item is also about a store, And you can see all the different things that they had in the store. You can see the outfit that's being worn at this time. Up here you have one of the items that I just showed you, but it's hanging, but it's the same thing. Cheese and eggs. And here they have all sorts of measuring tools. And this right here, this item is what you would use, the things that I just showed you, which I can't tell you. You have to guess what they are. But here's some pieces of cloth, bags of apples, and I love how this little girl has a basket, and that's how she's gonna take her groceries home. And here's some of my favorite things. I'm gonna pull them all out. Quite a few interesting things here. They might take a minute to set up because some of them come apart. There we go. You can hear me rattling around, I'm sure, in my treasure chest. These are all things that somebody would have to pack onto their wagon so that they could get them all to their farmstead. They would load it right up to the top. It would be overflowing. Can you see all these things? And if they didn't buy all these things or bring them with them, they would run into some trouble because some of these things are totally essential to living in the new world, but some of them are just luxuries. Luxury means you don't really need it, but it'd be helpful. Not everyone would carry a cannon, for instance. Not everyone would need a scale, and not everyone would have a pump or an iron, but they definitely would need some pots and pans and kettles. And this is a really fancy, can you guess? What do you think this does? So those are some of the things that people would probably want to bring with them. Lots of pots and pans at least. So those items are all going back into the treasure chest. These ones are all made out of brass. They're quite heavy, brass and metal. That one's an interesting one. Next I have this. Do you know what this is called? It's got some beaded work on it, which that came later in the prairies, especially with the Métis. And this is made out of hide, and it's all sewn together. But these became really, really popular with the pioneers because they held out water and they were warm and they lasted a really long time. So my next item is a little bit of a collection. Gather it up. We've got a collection here of animals. Do you know what these animals are? They're all part of the pioneer world. Some of them were really, really important to the pioneer world. And some of them were dangers in the pioneer world. But all of them played a part. So we have lots of wild animals. But you're all going back in the chest. We also have animals that people brought with them from the countries that they came from. These animals were not here. They brought them with them. And they would have had to build one of these to keep their animals in. So, can you remember all these animals? They're all really important on the Pioneer Farm. All right, I have a couple more items. One of my favorite little ones that reminds me so much of the Pioneer days. And I'm going to show you a link to a really cool video that shows you how to make one of these. I've never made one before, but I'd love to learn. And not quite part of our Pioneer unit. This is the fur trade unit, but I'm going to include this anyway. So this is part of a tree. It's on the outside of a tree. I wonder if you know what type of tree that is. And what did they use this to make? And finally, I'm going to show you one more item. We have this, which really becomes part of the fur trade, and it was worn by the voyageurs. How did they wear it? And where did it come from? And it was very colorful. All right, so now I've shown you all the items in my chest. Your job is to get your pencil and to draw as many of the items as you can remember as possible. How many do you think you can remember?